guys, it's Katie here with Life Mundane. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about what you can learn from past years and specifically what I've learned from looking over the past year of homeschooling. Every year I try to take some time just to evaluate how did the year go, what could I do differently, and I thought some of the mistakes that I made last year were very, very common, and I thought maybe by sharing it with you guys it might help you be able to reevaluate your school year and see if there are things that you can do to avoid these common pitfalls. So let's get started. So first off, I just want to say there's no such thing as a perfect homeschool year. If we don't make mistakes, we're not learning. And so I really want to encourage you to not get frustrated, not get overwhelmed, not get down on yourself when a year doesn't go the way you had planned, and instead evaluate and see what you can learn and change and tweak and get better in. Also, I will say that I think that it's important that we spend more time focusing on what is going well as reevaluating the things that maybe didn't go so well. I feel like as moms, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Taking over the education of our children is a huge responsibility, and we can tend to put so much pressure on ourselves that we only see the negatives and we don't see the positives. So when you're reevaluating for a new year, always be sure to notice the things that have gone well and that have, that God has done in your children's lives over the past year that has been positive, because we don't want to just walk away with a negative Nancy perspective on this and feeling like we can never succeed. So that's just word of caution before we jump into it. So as I've been evaluating this year, I have noticed some common themes that I think kind of tripped us up a little bit at certain points. And one of those is that I didn't plan enough buffer. I haven't been putting that buffer time into our school year. I have been scheduling everything to the hilt. I have been budgeting every single second of every single day, and that doesn't allow for life to happen. It doesn't allow for kids who are maybe frustrated and upset and need to call the day early. It doesn't allow for sickness. It doesn't allow for days that you might just need to take off to do something fun or to help somebody else. So I really wanted to figure out how to create more buffer. So here's kind of my solution for it. I don't know if it'll work or not, but this is what we're going to be trying this year. If you're familiar with the idea of like 6 weeks on, 1 week off, this is a similar concept, but just a little bit different. Basically, we always schedule our schooling 4 days a week. We do school all 5 days, but we schedule actual core subjects and schedule assignments 4 days a week. The 5th day is for co-op and for a homeschool co-op, and is for extra learning opportunities, excitement. We write letters to family and friends. We might study some geography or do something fun that the kids are interested in. And so that's sort of our fun learning day, but it's also a buffer day to be catch up, to finish off anything that we didn't finish off for the end of the week. The challenge is because it is a co-op day, in the past, I haven't had the energy or the time to get to doing that extra stuff to catch up. This year we're doing co-ops in the afternoon on Fridays, so the mornings will be more available to work on that catch-up work, and I think that that's going to be helpful. But I also wanted to build in a little more buffer. So our plan this year is to schedule 5 weeks of scheduled activities and learning, and then on the 6th week to take a light week. Now we are still schooling every single day this week. We are going to be doing, probably around the same amount of time of school each week, but the idea with this light week is that if we need to catch up and we have gotten behind on assignments, that gives us a week of buffer, but also that light week can be used to do fun things that reinforce our regular lessons. So I won't be scheduling any regular lessons, and instead we'll take that opportunity to play games with flashcards to work on our memory, or to do board games that help reinforce our math skills, or to be able to take a day trip and go learn something for science. So it gives us the opportunity to have a little bit more of a light, fun week if we are on track. And if we are not on track, it gives us a buffer week so we don't feel completely behind and frustrated. I really think that this is going to be helpful for us as a family, and I'm hoping that it will give us motivation. That light, fun week will give us motivation to keep on track so that we can enjoy that week for what it is. We've got Fridays as a little bit of a buffer, and then we've got this 6th week of school as a buffer. Along those lines, one thing I realized is that I had not eliminated the need for choices. And if you guys are a mom, you know this. Like, we are hit with choices the second we get out of bed. What are we making for breakfast? Where are we going today? Who should get to sit in the front seat in the van? And I mean, all these things. It's just constant bombard of things to answer, questions to answer. And so I've realized that those in the moment, those little decisions can be massively overwhelming for me as a mom. And so as many decisions as I can eliminate in advance is best. So last year I learned that I had a stack of books that I kind of wanted to get to for read alouds, but I hadn't really decided, like, were we going to do one chapter a day, or, you know, were we going to do this one this month or that month? And honestly, what I found is we would do a read aloud, we would have a lot of fun with it, we would get really into it, and we would finish it. And because I hadn't already decided what was next, a lot of times there would be a gap, and we would have, you know, a month and not be in a chapter book read aloud with my kids. And so yes, I read to them on the side a little bit, and that's fine. I don't want to schedule every second of every day, but I feel like having a little bit of that plan and then knowing that you have the flexibility to change it if you want to is good. But I really needed that decision to be made ahead of time. Same with hymnals. We did a hymn study and did a different hymn every single month. Last year, we'll be continuing that this year, but I ran into the issue of I didn't have picked out what the hymn would be next. And so it just caused a lot more stress and tension than it needed to over something simple. So I learned that planning wise, I need to do a little bit better about planning those little details. I also think that I hadn't scheduled in time for review. I really noticed that there were times that we needed to make changes to our schedule. Maybe that was to curriculum. Maybe it was just simply to what time do we start our school day, or let's try out this new chore routine, or whatever. So what I've decided to do is to set aside time, and what makes the most sense is to do that 5 to 6 week rotation. So to set a schedule, to set a curriculum, and to say we are committed to doing this for these 5 weeks to 6 weeks, no matter what. Even if it's miserable, it's too rigorous, it's too light, we're just going to commit to doing it for that time. And then during that light week, I'm going to take a little bit of time out of that week and carve out time to really evaluate and see, are there changes that need to be made? Do we need to switch out curriculum? Do we need to switch up the schedule? Do we need to change who does math first and who works on science and things like that? Having that automatic time for evaluation will be very, very, very helpful in the long run. Will keep me from making snappy decisions that could really throw our year into a twist, but also allow times where if we need to make changes, we can. I also think there are some times where you can learn from those. My son, mid through the summer, had been doing teaching textbooks. He had been loving it. And about midway through the summer, had really hit a wall and gotten super frustrated. And he was asking me if he could go back to using another curriculum that we had previously used. I was open to that. I'm always open to suggestions for my kids with that kind of thing. But I knew that we couldn't switch at this point. We were already a little behind, and I didn't want to throw everything up in the air. So I said, look, just finish out this year, because we only had about a month or two left, so it wasn't the whole year. I said, just finish out this year, and then we can talk about it and approach that. Well, he hit that wall, and he continued to just be frustrated and upset and not get things, and I didn't feel like he was retaining well, and he did that for about 2.5 weeks. And after that, a light bulb just went on. He got it. He is now doing math so well, so independently. He is retaining everything. All these math concepts that he was getting frustrated with have just clicked. And I look at it and go, in the past, I would have just switched curriculums right then. And sometimes there's a sense of just giving it a couple of weeks, not forever, but just a couple of weeks to see if the problem sort of solves itself. I want to teach my kids to work through their issues and not just run away when something gets difficult. So I feel like having that evaluation time will be helpful. I felt like last year I had a lot of fun things that I wanted to get to, doing sign language, writing letters, I wanted to do geography, and then extra things that just came up. And but what I realized is I had scheduled that into the day and packed the day so full. Again, there wasn't even a buffer within the day. And I think what I've realized is I want to simplify our morning time, and I'm going to do a separate video on what our morning time is going to kind of look like now. Our morning basket time is going to look like. If you guys want to see that, be sure to comment below. But I want to simplify that process and not make it so out there and so intensive that it takes so many hours that we're really getting a really late start to our actual work in the day. So holding extras very loosely. So we have some apps that we use to help our kids in learning. Those are great things. I want to have those available to my children. But does it need to be available as a mandatory thing that we schedule into lesson plan, or is it just something that's available if a child is waiting on me to be able to work with them. So I really think that being flexible with some of that and simplifying some of the requirements for that is really, really, really going to be helpful. The fourth thing that I will say is I realized that I needed to have a plan for the times when I couldn't work with a child. So I have 4 school-age kids, I have 2 babies, and it makes things a little bit challenging because there are points where everybody needs mom for something. They're all working independently, but maybe they all have a question at the same time. I know that never happens to you guys, but for me it happens quite frequently. But there's a period of dead time. And it seems that, at least in my house, if nothing is scheduled for this time that is able to be scheduled because it's random, it turns into chaos. Kids run off and I have to bring them back. It takes 30 minutes to get back into their lesson. It's frustrating. So by learning that I needed to have some structured activities that can be picked up at any given point, learning activities, has been really helpful. So I'm going to be creating sort of a center or baskets, which you guys will get to see in my homeschool room tour coming up here in the next couple weeks. And they'll get to go to that basket. If there is downtime, I'm going to tell them to go to their busy basket. They're going to go there. They're going to pick out a learning activity that they can do independently to keep them busy during that time and not waste the time and keep them kind of in school mode so that when I come to them and I'm ready to work with them, then they are still in that zone for that. So that's something I learned. And the final thing that I learned that I think is probably the most important thing, and I'm really sad that it wasn't more of a priority this past year, is that I didn't bathe the year in prayer. I prayed for my school year, yes, but I didn't take it to God every single day. I was very determined to do it a certain way, and I don't feel like I left a lot of opening for God's will. And there was a lot of frustration, and it just wasn't the way it could have been. And so this year I really want to commit to praying for my school year more, praying through the curriculum choices, praying through setting up the schoolroom. Like, God, what will be the best solution through this? Praying through how to order my day, just praying each day that God would be glorified and what He wants them to learn, they will learn. So I hope these tips have been helpful to you. I honestly don't know how they'll go. I'm just sharing my learning experiences with you and my ideas on solutions to those, but I am by no means an expert on all things homeschooling. So if you guys have had some of these same struggles and have some other solutions, definitely let me know. I want to hear. You can email me, shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, or just drop a comment below. And if you have struggles that I haven't addressed here, I'd love to hear about that as well. We can come together and give each other ideas and learn from one another in these moments where we're feeling maybe less than adequate or frustrated with a circumstance that we are running into a lot for our school year. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, I'd love for you guys to take a second to subscribe to my channel, give it a big thumbs up, and comment below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.